strong following. So speakers need to understand it's going to take time to get your body of work, but you've got to get all the moving parts, all of them. You've got to get every moving part. You have to have speakers bureaus. You've got to have those relationships with bureaus that, they may give you 20 events a year. So everything going up into 2008, it clicked. We raised my fee. We were getting a lot of spin-offs. We were getting a lot of people that hired me before. We were getting people that wanted me to bring me back to do the second presentation. And now it's been consistent. And every year, and by the way, I always dreamed this would happen, we probably say no once a week because I'm not available.
Yeah, that's good. Now, I'm going back to the 35,000 people signing up for your newsletter. That's where they fill out that sheet on the back table, or do you give away, send a, whatever the...
That's it. It says, to receive Steve Gilliland's newsletter, they put their email address. That's it.
Now, but do you, during your talk, will you say, if you want, I'm going to give you this, my free book, right, for today, if you just send a text to this, whatever it is, Kiwi Live or whatever?
Nope.
Okay.
I don't mention product. I don't mention anything.
That's great. Okay.
The presentation is the presentation.
What did you say?
The presentation is the presentation. It's most speakers are not willing to ask meeting planners for 2 or 3 6-foot tables and set up products and marketing materials. They don't do it. You come into mine, it looks like a little retail store in the back of the room. There are tent cards, there's price tent cards, there's marketing materials, there are people will sit back. It's like a trade show. They're back there and they're looking at stuff. They're already looking before I get up. I don't have to say anything. And by the way, the introduction, whoever introduces that video says, Steve will be available immediately following his presentation to sign copies of his books. Now please direct your attention to the video monitors. And in the video introduction, it shows me doing a book signing. There's a picture, and it'll say he authored 4 best-selling books and was named Author of the Year in 2012, and it has the book covers. That is a subliminal, gosh, we need to buy a book. And I never say a word about buying or purchasing. It's credibility. He was named Author of the Year. He's written 4 best-selling books. They're seeing it during the introduction. There's no bragging. It's the fact.
And can I get a link to that video? Can I see that intro video?
I will see if I can get it to you. I'll ask my assistant.
Okay, I will send you an email at the end, after, so you don't have to remember. I'll send an email just reminding you about that. If it works, great. If not, it's not a big deal. Okay? All right, let me just move on. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, on speaking mastery, who would be your 10 on speaking?
Mark Sanford.
Okay. And how would you rate your delivery on that same scale if 10 were Mark? Okay. And what have you done to perfect your delivery? Have you hired a coach? Do you watch your videos? What do you do? What have you done?
I just have practiced and watched. I mean, I'm an observant person. I watch other speakers. I watch their preview videos. I watch them on stage. I'm kind of a student, but I'm one of those people that watches and, will take away the good, the bad, and the ugly. Sometimes I'll say, yeah, it was really good. Sometimes I'll think, gosh, that was so bad. I would never do that. And I remind myself not to do that.
So you're kind of a natural speaker. You had a job speaking. Speaking, it sounds like speaking kind of come naturally to you. You didn't have to hire a coach, go to a boot camp to improve your delivery.
Correct.
Okay. What advice would you give to a speaker who had an okay delivery? What advice would you give them?
The advice I would give them is, from a delivery perspective, there's a lot of people out there that are quote-unquote coaching. I would simply say that if you're willing to do the heavy lifting. And the heavy lifting is, get a list of the CPAEs, get a list of, speakers, and go to their websites and watch their preview videos, and literally you critique their preview video. You say to yourself, what do they have in common? What's the consistencies? What are the good things? And ask yourself, and here's the thing, you got to be honest with yourself. Some speakers who don't have a great delivery right now, they don't need a speech coach. What they need is to be honest with themselves and say, I need more energy, I need more this, I need more that. And it's like, some of them sometimes, because, they hire these speech coaches, and the speech coach, here's what a speech coach does. Tells you what time it is on your own watch. It's like, learn to tell time. It's like, learn to look at somebody and be honest and say, I don't measure up. I don't measure up to that.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but a lot of the people, other than you, most of the people I've talked to, and again, I would call these all successful speakers, they have hired a speaking coach, or one per year.
Well,
you didn't for
welcome to the national.
Hey, look, you know what? Yeah, I know what you're saying. I had a similar feeling, but look, if these other people are using them... anyway, let me move on to content, okay? I share your... I'm
telling you something in confidence, and it's this.
Yeah.
The problem, and it is a problem, it's not me, the problem with the National Speakers Association is there are too many opportunists who are calling themselves speakers, who are telling other people what they should do and how they should do it, and they've never done it.
Exactly.
And that's the problem.
Right. It's like buying stocks from your stockbroker.
Right.
Yeah, no, I 100%. Okay, let's move on. So now I'm going to move on to content knowledge. So on a scale of 1 to 10, if 10 would be like Peter Drucker in management or Deming in quality, how would you rate your content knowledge in your field?
I'm going to say 10. I mean, I'm a guy that reads 36 books a year. I mean, I'm a writer, and I don't, rely on a lot of other people's. So I've got a lot of originality in terms of things that I've said and written. I'm going to say 10. Okay.
So now going to that, have you done original research, like formal best practice interviews, etc., on your topic? If 1 would be no research and 10 would be years of formal research, how would you characterize your original research?
I can't say that I've done a lot of formal research. Again, most of my research is reading.
Okay, so call it a 3?
Yeah.
Okay, so you've written a number of books. How important was your book to your success? If 1 is nothing and 10 was could not have done it without the book.
7.
Okay, and why? What did the book do for you? Oh, gave you another revenue stream, right?
First and foremost, credibility.
Uh-huh.
And I think the other thing that the book did besides credibility was it was, again, a marketing. So there was the credibility piece, but then there was also the marketing piece where the book was getting, it was kind of like it was being taken a lot of different places. I'd do an event, 30 or 40 people would end up with a book afterwards, and then that doesn't count how many would buy it on Amazon. So, before you knew it, you had a lot of impressions. There was just a lot of impressions out there.
So I want to go back to something you said before. So when I looked at your videos, and as I'm talking to you now, it doesn't seem like you sell from the stage. Is that correct?
Correct. I absolutely, totally, 100% abhor it.
That is great. But you do a lot of selling, but it's not on the stage. You don't do the special today only.
Correct.
That is wonderful. That is a breath of fresh air. Okay? All right. Okay. Do you want to comment on that?
Well, if you're good on stage, your message and your personality will sell product afterwards. I mean, you don't have to... the key getting there early, getting everything set up, so that when people begin to enter the room, they look at this display of products in the back of the room. You're not back there. You're not even saying anything to them. You've got price cards. It's like walking into a retail store. They see it. They kind of glance at it. Some of them pick it up. Some of them read the back cover. Some of them look. They've already got an impression in their mind. Then all of a sudden, they're being introduced, and they look, hey, this guy's a best-selling author. They see the covers of the books. The other thing is I spend a lot of money to do a very, very, very nice bookmark, which has a cutout insert, which means that bookmark, the book itself, whatever I'm speaking on, is a high quality. This is something they're not going to throw away. This is something that they're going to take, even if they don't use it in their book, they're going to use it somewhere. So I give them that, and enjoy the ride. I have the ABCs of enjoying the ride. A, appreciate. B, I go down through the ABCs. And when they see that, it's another impression. So I make a lot of subtle impressions, but I'm giving it that. And again, there's no contact information. There's nothing that says to hire Steve. There's nothing that says to book Steve. There's not.
Wait a minute, hold on, let me go back. In this promotional material that you leave in the back, there's nothing to say to hire Steve?
No, that's the back of the room. I'm saying the bookmark that I place on a sticker is a gift to them. It does not have, even if you come to see me at a trade show, if you come to, anything that I give away as a giveaway has nothing on it. Nothing. If I send a speakers bureau a gift, and I have sent a speakers bureau that has 7 employees, I've said, give me their sizes, and I sent them very nice jean denim jackets in their size as a way of saying thank you for all your support. It didn't have my logo. It had nothing on it. It was a gift. But every time they put it on, they're going to remember who gave them the gift. I don't need to have my name. I don't need to have my logo. I don't need to have my website, my phone number. The biggest mistake is when people do giveaways. And again, at that program, one of my giveaways is that bookmark, which is a beautiful bookmark that doesn't have my name on it, doesn't have Hire Steve, my website. It's just a nice bookmark that they'll use. You put your name or website on it, they're not using it. They're not using it. They just don't want it.
That is so smart. That is just so smart. It's that concept of people don't want to be sold, but they want to buy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you give them a really nice pen, how many times have you got a really nice pen in the mail from a marketing company and you thought to yourself, God, it's a nice pen, but boy, they screwed it up by putting...
Yeah.
You give them a really nice pen, they will remember where they got the pen. And even if they don't, then that's okay. But I want them to remember, oh yeah, this was the speaker that spoke on Enjoy the Ride. Man, this is such a really tight... That's what I want them to remember. So back to your original question, I've got marketing materials in the back of the room with products set up way early. People come in. Now they go to their seat, and they see a really nice, high-quality bookmark that has a cutout insert that they can put on in the book and literally leaf it over the page. Then, during my introduction, that's it. Other than the person saying he'll be available to sign copies of his books, when I'm done and I'm finished, just like on Sunday in Atlantic City, got a standing ovation. By the time I got to the back of the room, people are waiting in line.
Now, the bookmark, does it have your name on it?
No, it just has the cover of the book.
Okay, so I'll in my email, if you don't mind, I'll ask you to send me one of those if you don't mind.
Okay, I will.
Okay, all right. So I'm on my last page of questions. Let's just see here. These are much quicker. So regarding pricing, what % of the time do you get your full speaking fee?
20.
20?
20%.
Okay. What % of the time do you speak for no fee?
Oh, boy. 2%.
2%.
I'll do a couple a year.
And what decision rule do you use to speak for no fee? Is it an open schedule, the title, the number?
Opportunity.
And how do you define that?
I define it that who's the audience, or the people that are going to be in the audience have the ability to hire me.
And who hires you?
HR directors, training directors, C-suites, C-suite level people. But HR is a big one, training directors is a big one, and, just, if you get yourself in front of the right executives.
Okay. All right, and then what do you do pre-keynote? Do you interview 3 to 5 people, whatever?
Conference call.
And conference call with who? The meeting organizer?
Whoever, yeah, the person who is hiring me to speak and any, peripheral people that they want on the call.
But you don't push that.
Oh, yeah, we asked for a conference call.
No, sorry, you don't push to have some of the key executives on the phone.
No.
Boy, I'll tell you, you do, Steve, you have a different model. Okay, so, as you know. So, how do you learn about an organization?
It's all over the internet, and then when you get on the call with a person, it's again, I've got some specifics in terms of a conference call. When I go in, I've got specific questions. It's standard fare for me. And that conference call sheet is in front of me because I don't do it from memory. I make sure that, number one, it's kind of a, what would I say? It's a reminder, but it's also, because the conference call sheet tells me who the client is, tells me the program date, tells me who's on the call. That way I can be really personal. If there's 4 people on there, I'm talking to all of them. And then at the end, I'll say something like, hey, Gary, John, Jesse, and Amanda, thank you so much for today. Very, very personal. So, what I do then is on the call, I have some specifics that I want to know, and it's very consistent. Now, again, something you didn't touch on is, just like this event today, here in Charleston, I've already pre-sold books. I will not be selling books in the back of the room because I've already pre-sold. Every attendee here is going to get a book, and that happens sometimes on the conference call. And the reason why I tell you that is that on the conference call, one of the questions that I always ask them, I'll say, by the way, one question I've got, are you giving anything, are you going to give anything out to the attendees? And they'll say to me, well, we're going to give them out at registration, yada, yada, yada. I'll say, I'm going to be speaking on Enjoy the Ride. A lot of clients of mine over the years have found that if it's in their budget, it's really cool to give them a signed copy of my book. And I've so many times had them go, oh my gosh, what a great idea. And then we just pre-sell books. So I'm asking on the call, again, you get 0% of what you don't ask for, and it's in a non-threatening, but it's in a very controlled, sellable environment that I'm asking, are you giving them anything? Have you ever considered giving them a copy of, and one of the things I'm asked a lot is, how do we reinforce your message once you're gone? And a lot of times it's, and then again, I control the books because I don't have an ego. I turned down Wiley twice and McGraw-Hill once. I don't want a New York publisher. I'd rather buy my book for $3.50.
Yep.
And be able to sell it in bulk for $10 and still make $10.
Yeah, right. What are you going to do? I mean, you're not going to sell them through bookstores anymore, so right. I totally agree.
It's a game. It just really, so the conference call, yes, we ask for it because I do have some specifics that I want to lay out on the table.
What else? What are some of the other questions during the conference call that you want to make sure you ask?
I will ask them. Tell me about the last few speakers you've had. Tell me, and I'm hoping that your answer is you've not had any bad. But I said, have you had any speakers that you afterwards went, boy, give me the good, the bad, and the ugly. Just tell me what you perceive to be that great speaker and what you perceive to be, gosh, don't ever do that again, or we'll never hire a speaker like that again. So I really get a nice thing, and I ask them who they had last year. Give me the highs and the lows. I want to know who was there. I want to know what type of speaker it was. I want to know what they thought about that speaker. And I just had one recently when I said, who'd you have last year? And they said, well, we'll answer it this way. He'll never be back. And then they said, do you know so-and-so? And I said, yeah. I said, I do. And they said, what do you think? And I said, no comment.
Yeah.
And then you said it all. Point is, then I understand what I'm getting into. I understand that, and by the way, some of them will say, we had a speaker last year that, he said he would customize it, and he didn't. Well, as soon as I'm writing that stuff down. They're into that. They want to know. So then I start to make it an effort to customize optimize, and I make an effort to say to them, I always want to know if there's a theme. Are you having a theme for this meeting? What's your theme? Is it team building? Is it, diversity? Tell me the theme. What are you going after? And, then I call it my magic wand question. And I say to them, if you could wave a magic wand and have me say something that you'd like to be said that you can't say, what's that? What do you want that audience to hear? Because a lot of times, they want a speaker to shoot their bullets. They don't want to be holding the gun. They want the speaker. And, and they'll tell me, and I'll say, well, here's what I plan to do then. And then I'll tell them, and they'll say, wow, that'd be great. Boy, if you can convey that message for us, perfect.
So what are some of the magic wand answers?
We feel that there's not enough buy-in. We want our employees to understand that these changes are necessary. We want them to understand that we're not making changes just to make changes. We want them to see the big picture. So as they begin to tell me all of this, then I begin to, and I just did it recently, and a great example was they said, they're just not understanding that if we don't change, and we don't change soon, we may become irrelevant. So what do? I asked the audience that day, I'll never forget, I said, how many of you remember Blockbuster Video? And all of a sudden I started talking about Blockbuster, then I started talking about two guys that had a startup company that Blockbuster Video had a chance to buy for $50 million, turned it down, and today the company they turned down purchasing, now remember Blockbuster's out of business, they turned down purchasing Netflix, which is worth $66 billion. I said, that's what happens when you don't change. That's what happens when you don't. No, I said, I'm not going to be corny and say embrace. Nobody embraces change. We all hate change. But guess what? It's necessary. So what all of a sudden happens, these people that were on the conference call with me went, man, that was perfect.
Yeah.
Now you've got people that used to deny it going, yeah, I don't like it, but gosh, we really need to.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. I don't want to take, I just don't want to take classics, but you know what, I'm 62 and, my blood, you do certain things you don't want to.
Yep. All right, so I got that. I got this. I'd answered those. Did we cover what advice would you give? So what advice would you give to aspiring speakers?
Oh boy. For aspiring speakers, I would say, number one, what's going to differentiate you? What's going to make your message different? Not you. You know what? I don't care if you climb the mountain. I mean, I admire it. I think it's great. I think it's cool. But, and this goes back to a good friend of mine, Scott Burrows, who's a great speaker, and Scott's in a wheelchair. There's a lot of people, Chad Hymas, but there's a lot of people out there that have faced adversity. But that doesn't differentiate. That's their story. What is your message differentiator? What differentiates you? And see, for me, when somebody says, so how would you explain that? I said, well, think about enjoy the ride. I don't talk in terms of all this fluff. I talk in real terms. I talk in terms of being in a T-ball game and asking yourself a question. What in the world do you have your cell phone even in your possession? You have a 6-year-old out there. So I make them look at life so real. So what I tell people is you differentiate yourself by saying something, and here's another term that I always use to new speakers, aspiring speakers, is what you're going to say ever going to be retweeted? Will it, number one, be tweeted, but number two, would it be retweeted? And when you say something that is retweeted 20-some thousand times, you've said something. Because I think that's the thing that most speakers, they're talking about the same topics. They're not giving anything that differentiates. It doesn't give them a new, fresh perspective, a different angle. And I think that's number one piece of advice is, do you have something that people are going to go, wow, I've never heard that before.
Mm-hmm.
Or I've never heard that in that way. And then number two goes back to what we talked about originally. Be capitalized. And even if you're not capitalized totally, if you really want to make it in this industry, then you've got to roll the dice, go all in. And again, I racked up about $50,000 worth of debt on credit cards, knowing that someday I would make that in a week, in a month, whatever.
Yep.
It was just one of those things that I had enough confidence to say, I'm not going to, if I don't make it, if I fail, I'm not going to fail because I wondered. And I think that was the thing, is a lot of speakers go in and they go, man, I'm just struggling. I'm like, well, they tell me what they're doing. Well, you're not doing anything. You're not doing anything. You're not ingesting anything into the market that says you're even putting your name on the map. Your website is tacky, or it's the same as everybody else's website. I mean, again, there are people out there designing websites in our industry. I like them as people, and I think they do a decent job of them, but it doesn't differentiate them. It all looks the same.
And who did your website?
A guy named Mike Murray.
And what's his company, or how do I get him?
Pearhouse.com.
What's it called?
Pearhouse.com. Pearhouse. His name is Mike. Last name Murray. Murray.
Okay. And who does your video?
A company. I've got two. I've got a local guy, Epic Media, EPIC Media, Epic Media. They're in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And then they do my preview video, and then what I call my sizzle video, which is my introduction. A company in Greenville, South Carolina, called Sliced Tomato did it.
Okay, let's see here. Anything else? Okay, so advice to aspiring speakers: differentiate your message, be capitalized. Anything else?
And since it's going to be in a book that's supposed to be helping them, take advice from those who can substantiate what they're saying.
So take advice from CSPs, or...
No.
Okay.
No. CSPs, I mean, I don't even use the designation outside of the industry. None of my marketing material has CSP, CPAE.
Okay, well, so who do they take advice from?
You substantiate it. When you talk to somebody that's going to give you advice, you simply say, can I ask you a few questions? Find out who's giving you advice. You cannot take people at their and I hate to say this, but I said, well, give me your background. Do you have, how many did you speak to last year? What's your client? I want to know I'm going to tell you how bold I am. Somebody came to me and said something, and I said, well, I'll tell you what. I said, here's what we'll do. You show me your W-2, I'll show you mine.
Yeah.
Because I think you're full of crap.
Okay, so let's find out what are some of these other questions they can ask to find out if they're worth listening to. How many full feast keynotes did you do last year? Okay.
Well, but see, so that's a good question, but now are they going to be truthful? Because what happens at an NSA convention is there's just too many people blowing smoke. So my thing on it is listen, I'm serious about this. I just need to know. You're telling me that you would, I just need to know, and I'll give you the best simple answer right now. The best one is, can you give me 3 references of people that you have worked with, that you have helped? And especially if it's a coaching situation. Because I'll tell you what, you watch the look on their face when you ask them for that. Because you're going to get a variety of people that will say, well, I've worked with so many people, just give me 3.
I'm not so sure that that's the problem. I think you can pick 3 that, will give you a good referral.
I know. I guess my point is, and I don't think we're going to solve it on this phone call, I think that what we've uncovered here is there needs to be a discovery process with the person that you're talking to identify exactly what their background is and what would make them be a person who you would want to listen and heed their advice. And here's the greatest example. I mean, you're talking to a guy that has probably sold more product in the back of the room than 98% of the people at NSA, and I've never once been asked to do a workshop on, but I get other people that do these workshops, and I'll sit there shaking my head going,
yeah, they don't know.
They don't know. But and again, it's like any other association. It's the people that raise their hand and step up. So I'm not going to put them down because they're volunteering and they're helping, or they think they're helping. That's the problem. They think they're helping. But
they're not.
All they're doing is adding another opinion to a bucket.
No, just more disinformation.
Oh, gosh. And then these poor speakers are trying to separate it out.
Okay, all right. So now, how about this, when to invest in social media? Because there's a lot of people at NSA now that are selling social media coaching.